We're here for another episode of AgNerds. We're joined today by Peter Gredig from Agnition Incorporated. Welcome today, Peter.
Good to be with you, Sean.
So, Peter, when we're selecting a new phone platform, our contract's up. We're gonna get a new cell phone. Uh, what choices are out there for farmers?
Okay, well, this is interesting because a year ago it was basically BlackBerry or iPhone, and that was it. Um, Depending on how you look at it, unfortunately or fortunately, there's more choices now. We really have four platforms available um, if you're buying a smartphone. So, BlackBerry, of course, as we know, iPhone. Another player is called Android. It's supported by Google. It's garnered a lot of popularity in the US. And the newest entrant into the marketplace is the Windows Mobile 7 phone, which I think came out in the fall just before Christmas. So there's really four options now.
Okay, so how are all those phones different, or is there different models, or like what makes them different from each other?
Well, that's a good question. I guess BlackBerry is known as the business device. Its strengths are email, the security that they have with their BlackBerry Messenger system, which a lot of people find really compelling. The iPhone is known for web browsing, video viewing. It's a good device for music, etc. Maybe less business oriented, but really cool to use, really intuitive software, right? The Android phone, I don't know as much about. It isn't as popular in Canada, but it does have a lot of market share in the States. The phones are cheaper. There are more apps all the time, but it just hasn't got the market share that we've seen of the other two devices. And Windows Mobile 7 still just finding it's just entering the market.
Like, is Windows the lagger here? Um,
Well, you would wonder why they would come to the marketplace. I mean, it's a very competitive marketplace, but I think there's some advantages. I think it's easier to get set up as a business with that phone, maybe than BlackBerry, less expensive. The software is supposed to be very good and intuitive. The people that I've talked to that have a Windows phone really like the devices. So we'll see. I think we'll know more in a year.
What about the Droid? A lot of people probably in Canada don't know much about the Droid. A lot of U.S. farmers have Droids. I don't know anybody in Canada that has a Droid. What's the story on the Droid?
Well, I guess the cool thing about the Droid is that if you are looking to use applications on your smartphone, if you see the development of applications as one of the reasons why you would select one of the platforms, the cool thing on the app development side is that Android has a completely open process. Anyone can build an Android app and make it available to users. It doesn't go through the structured process that you have for BlackBerry and for iPhone, where there's kind of gatekeepers there on what apps are available, et cetera. So if Android is going to be successful, I think it'll be based on how easy it is to build apps and how easy it is for people to access them.
And so then when we look at the two more prevalent platforms would be the BlackBerry and the iPhone. There is, I think significant differences between them and what you're using them for. What is kind of the main sort of breakdown purchase decision between the two of them?
Right. Well, I guess you start with what is your service provider offering. If you have that choice from the company that you're getting your phone and your data plan from, then that's one thing. The second is how are you going to use the device and your personal preferences. For me, I really like having the keyboard that I have on my BlackBerry. I do a lot of emailing with the device, so I want that actual, keyboard versus an iPhone where it's an on-screen virtual keyboard, I guess you call it. So that's the dividing line for me. Email guy, I got to have the BlackBerry.
Right.
If you're using the device to view video or read the news or maybe less business oriented, then the iPhone is, I mean, they're a great device, just different. That's sort of where they break down.
Which one do you think is more durable for farm activity?
Well, I've only had BlackBerry devices, so I'm not sure, but I think they're all pretty robust. Obviously you can't run them through a baler, but the reality is that if you protect them, you can get cases for them that they're called ruggedized cases that help mitigate smashing them with one drop on the shop floor. But I guess I'm amazed at how well they do stand up to the rigors of agriculture and dust, etc.
Yeah, I know one thing. The iPhone comes with some cases that I've seen come in the office here that are almost make that phone look indestructible.
Right, right.
Whereas you don't see that as much with the BlackBerry, which tells me probably the BlackBerry is much more durable naturally.
Good.
But some of those cases that come with the iPhone probably take it into a different level.
Right. Well, there's probably a lot of your viewers that had a BlackBerry that had the roller ball, the
That
roller
was not
ball.
good.
Not cool for agriculture. I mean, they just any dust or grit or hay or straw. I mean, it just ended up in there, and I think we all became good at popping that ball out and cleaning it out. And I think they're gone for good. It's now like a touchpad instead of a roller
Yeah.
ball.
Oh God, I hope they're gone forever. That was terrible.
Yeah, I think so.
I was lucky. I actually skipped that whole generation. I was still
Right.
using the side scroller, and then moved to the touchpad. So I was fortunate enough not to ever have one of those terrible, terrible devices.
Yeah, and on the new, like on my new Torch, you can use the trackpad if you want, or you'd also have touchscreen functionality. So all the device, I mean, this is the cool thing about this, and you know how fast this is moving is if you don't like the mobile devices of today, just wait a minute because it's really competitive. They're all pushing the envelope. It wouldn't surprise me. I heard a rumor that the iPhone 5 will probably have a actual keyboard option with it potentially. So they're all grabbing the key selling features from each other, and we all benefit from that. So
And that's another thing that's a bit hard for I think some people to sort of figure out. Before you could always wait for the new version of something, right?
right,
Now, if you sort of follow that mentality, you're going to spend your whole life waiting because there's so many different versions that are coming out so much. Before we could keep a phone for 3 years, and then the next version wouldn't be out until to 3 years after. And so now things are coming out so fast. Everybody wants new devices. There's new technologies. There's new capabilities, and it just turns over way faster. And it's intimidating.
yeah. I guess the way I look at it is, as we go forward, there is the devices and platforms are starting to become similar. In other words, we're headed towards the same end goal of high functionality, um, cost, and making them sort of universal so that anyone can pick up a smartphone and use it. They're not totally disparate from each other in the way that they operate and how you interface with them. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably where we're headed is that, people that were a dyed in the wool iPhone user, they'll see some of the functionality from a BlackBerry on their device and vice versa. And it's a little bit like the argument of what paint color is better if you're buying a combine. At the end of the day, the job gets done, and the differences between them are nuances rather than, you know, make or break kind of things.
Well, I was watching an episode of Twit a couple weeks ago, and Leo and his group were talking about how a cell phone makes phone calls has become completely insignificant, right? You
Right,
never say anymore, boy, that phone makes very nice phone calls, right? It's all about
right.
the browser and the apps and the functionality and the cool stuff that comes with it. It's not about making phone calls. And people, somebody on the panel had said, I want to get one of these new phones that actually doesn't make phone calls because
Right.
it's not even about that anymore.
Right. Yeah, the phone is almost it's not throwaway technology, but there was a time where you would say, well, that platform I get a lot more dropped calls, or it's not as good a quality phone, and I don't hear that anymore. I think they've resolved that. But yeah, going forward, I mean, it's hard to imagine where we're headed in a few years. Next time we talk, we've got to talk tablets because that's another whole ball game and pretty exciting too.
Yep. Next, that's a good idea. Next time we will talk about tablets. Okay, Pete, thanks a lot, and we'll see you again on a future episode of AgNerds.
Okay, right on, Sean.